First from the night team, a story you'll see only on 8.
He's a wonderful young man. It's like he's two different people or something.
The mother of a man accused in a 3-state killing spree talks tonight about the man she knows and the monster officers say he became. David Pedersen is accused of taking 4 lives, including the life of a Yamhill County teenager.
And tonight he's also sending a message to the night team's Mike Benner from behind bars. Mike is here now with his words. Mike?
Laurel, I wrote a letter to David Pedersen last week, and today I got this 2-page response from him. He talks a lot about how he has no obligation to divulge anything to us, but he does address the death of Lafayette teen Cody Myers. Also tonight, we're hearing from Pedersen's mother for the very first time, and she's standing by her son.
I'm just really sorry.
Speaking from outside her Salem home on the condition of anonymity, Linda Pedersen apologizes on behalf of her son, David Joseph Pedersen.
I love him unconditionally, and I always will.
Pedersen and Holly Grigsby are accused of killing Pedersen's dad and stepmom in Everett, Washington, before heading south, where detectives say they murdered a California man, and Oregon teen Cody Myers of Lafayette.
If it weren't for the Lord, I'd not be doing okay at all. But I'm a Christian, and that helps.
Court documents suggest that Pedersen and Grigsby stole Myers' car, then killed him because his last name sounded Jewish. But according to this letter that Pedersen wrote me, that's not the case. He says, quote, although there are quite a number of individuals bearing that surname who are indeed Jewish, the name isn't. And to suggest that we base the commandeering of a vehicle on the owner of said vehicle's last name is patently absurd. End quote.
Fair, I'd be compensated for my time.
We showed Pedersen's letter to longtime forensic psychologist Frank Calistro. While he has no connection to the case, Calistro isn't surprised the suspect wrote to us.
It's all about the attention. It's all about him still feeling a lot of power and control, and it's all about the situation he's in, probably still really feeding his ego.
And perhaps that explains why Pedersen wrote, albeit cryptically, about his and Grigsby's future plans and goals had they been able to continue with a spree that had already claimed 4 innocent lives.
I'm so sorry that I messed up somewhere. I can't figure out what happened. But I'm so sorry to the loved ones, the family, friends.
Now, in this letter, Pedersen also invites me to meet with him face-to-face for a more in-depth interview once he and Grigsby are extradited to Washington. We expect that extradition any day now. Laurel?
Well, very powerful to hear from his mother, for sure. Thank you, Mike. Now to a story you'll see only on 8. A patient who escaped from the Oregon State Hospital is talking about where he went and how he planned that escape. The night team's Mike Benner is live at the Marion County Jail with this exclusive interview. Mike?
From the state hospital. He was on the run for more than 2 weeks before he was tracked down in the Clackamas County area. He is now charged with escape in the 2nd degree. In fact, he went before a judge this afternoon, and we sat down with him about an hour later.
It was a terrible decision to leave the hospital.
In his first and only interview since finding himself back in state custody, Matthew Engel opens up about his escape from the Oregon State Hospital.
For like a week, I kind of, sent some stuff home without telling anybody, just a couple things at a time.
And then on September 3rd, during a supervised walk on hospital grounds, Engel ran as fast as he could to a waiting car in what he thought would be freedom.
I just wanted to see my family, and once I left, I couldn't.
Engel thought authorities would go straight to his family, so he kept a low profile.
I went camping in the woods for a week, and I moved around a couple houses.
Engel was a free man for 17 days before authorities tracked him down in Sandy.
They had their gun out at first, and then they put it right away as soon as they seen me and that I was unarmed.
The 21-year-old was taken to jail, a place he knows all too well. You may recall back in 2009, Engel was high on drugs when he ran a stop sign, killing 42-year-old Pam Benson and her 11-year-old daughter, Clarice. Engel can't help but think about the husband and father they left behind.
That was his child and his wife, and that's, even if something happened to one of my best friend's kids that I've known, got to babysit and watch, it breaks me apart.
Engel received a 20-year sentence, some of which would be spent at the Oregon State Hospital. the same place Englewood escaped from years later.
I was scared in that hospital, and I still am to go back when I have to go back there.
And back out here live, it's unclear when or if Matthew Engel will return to the state hospital. For now, he'll remain at the Marion County Jail while this escape charge is ironed out. Back to you.
Mike Benner live in Salem. Thank you, Mike. And now to a story that will really pull at your heartstrings. Tonight, a paramedic and EMT with American Medical Response are being credited with giving a sick Washougal man an opportunity he'll never forget. The Night Team's Mike Benner joins us now with this uplifting story of how they're making a difference. Mike?
Laurel, at one point or another, a lot of people have probably had some sort of interaction with a paramedic or EMT, and chances are they were kind and professional. But the two we're introducing you to tonight went above and beyond their job descriptions for a 42-year-old husband and father who's battling cancer.
It's been more than a year since Jim Orr was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma. And since then, he's been in and out of hospitals for either radiation or, like today, blood transfusions.
Whenever my blood counts get low, they make me come back in.
It was during a trip to a radiation appointment by ambulance that Jim met EMT Della Bornman and paramedic Dan Carlton.
I asked him if there was anything else we could do for him to make him more comfortable.
I said, well, if you guys aren't doing anything, after work tonight, you can take me to go see my son's game.
Jim says he was joking around, but the request resonated with Carlton and his partner.
We just thought it was very important to try to make it happen for him, just to make him happy, give him a little sunshine in his day.
Doctors were called and exceptions were made. And next thing you know, Jim and his wife were loading up in an ambulance for a surprise trip to a baseball diamond in Camas.
I just cried, because, you know, I knew how much it would mean to him, so it touched my heart.
And she wasn't alone. As you can see in this home video, the game was stopped when Jim arrived.
It was pretty cool to see the kids get all excited.
And things only got better.
Down already.
2 innings into the game,
2-2-2.
Jim's son Alex walked to the plate.
So it was a really slow pitch up at my face, so I just drilled it over in left field.
Alex hit a home run, and he sprinted around the bases, refusing to stop until he reached his dad.
He just kind of gave me a big hug. So I said, hey, buddy, good job.
The emotions and the feelings that I took away from this incident was just overwhelming.
And perhaps nobody knows that better than Jim Orr.
It was awesome. It was really cool.
Think you remember it for a long time?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
While the folks at AMR were a big part of making this all happen, I do want to point out social workers and doctors with Kaiser Permanente were also very instrumental. Roll back to you.
What a wonderful story. Thank you, Mike.
We begin with a story that's hard to believe. Police tell us an 84-year-old woman was beaten up by a 19-year-old at a Mack stop in Gresham. We have top story coverage from News Channel 8's Mike Benner. He's live outside the Multnomah County Jail where the suspect's being held tonight. Mike?
Yeah, Joe, talk about a sickening story. The suspect is identified as Cordarius Jeffries. We're told he punched the elderly woman nearly 24 times, and tonight she agreed to talk to us as long as we concealed her identity.
Very tired, very wore out, head hurts.
It's remarkable this 84-year-old great-grandma isn't feeling worse after what police are calling a random, unprovoked attack.
He didn't get me. He almost did, but he didn't. So if he didn't count how many he got, he didn't get this one.
Muriel was waiting for a bus at the Cleveland Transit Center in Gresham yesterday afternoon when she noticed a young man punching a middle-aged woman.
I thought he was terribly big, but maybe it's because I was sitting down, and he just was a big person.
Before she knew it, that big person had turned his attention to her, and he was standing right in front of her.
And he started beating on me, on my head, just as hard as he could go.
Muriel suffered a broken nose, bruises to her eyes, and a cut on her head. Witnesses estimate that she was hit at least 20 times.
I thought, well, I'm going to die because that's all there's left when he's whacking me that heavy.
Police arrested 19-year-old Cordarius Jeffries. Incoherent and unresponsive, they say they had to tase him to get him into custody.
It's upsetting, you know, because it's why pick on someone that can't defend themselves, you know, because of their age.
Not a bird.
Muriel asks herself the same thing, but she refuses to let it ruin her spirit.
I'm alive, and I'm going on the assumption that I'm still here. And have a good day.
Now back out here live, I want to point out one more thing about the attack. Police say for whatever reason during the assault, Jeffrey stopped, looked at his knuckles, and then continued to pummel Muriel. Tonight, Jeffries is being held on multiple assault charges as well as one count of interfering with public transportation. He's being held on $250,000 bail.
Thousands of people are expected in Hillsboro this weekend for the Oregon International Air Show. The Patriot Jet team is one of several acts scheduled to burn up the skies. News Channel 8's Mike Benner got a behind-the-scenes look. He joins us live now with the story. Mike?
You know, Joe, before climbing into the cockpit, I was told this would be the experience of a lifetime, and boy, was it ever. Not only did we get to fly inside an amazing aircraft, we got to fly some of the same tricks these pilots will perform this weekend.
Well, I just turned 54, and I'm dadgummit, I'm a kid in a candy store still.
Paul Strickland, also known as Sticky, has been flying with the Patriots for years, yet every flight is like his first.
Every time I walk out to the airplane, I've got this big grin on my face that somebody's allowing me to do this.
I know how he feels. This morning, I had the rare opportunity to fly shotgun, but not before a much-needed and appreciated safety briefing.
First thing we're going to learn is bailout.
They say it's only necessary if something catastrophic happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Mike.
Mike.
Hi, Mike. With that in mind, I headed for the jet, where I met Sticky. After a last-minute inspection, we taxied to the runway for takeoff. Alongside 3 other jets, we took to the skies above Hillsboro. It was absolutely beautiful, but the fun was just beginning. Take a look at this video shot from inside the cockpit. We flew in formation at 300 miles per hour, and more often than not, we were within 6 feet of the other planes.
And everybody's relative movement is all based off of the lead aircraft.
Talk about pressure. Sticky and the other pilots performed phenomenally. The flight went off without a hitch, and next thing I knew, we were on the ground.
Wow. I was just telling Stinky, the most amazing experience ever.
And even more amazing, I never lost consciousness or my breakfast.
Quite frankly, Mike, you did outstanding. I was pretty damn impressed.
But not nearly as impressed as I was.
Now, pay me. Yeah, give me the money. Give me the money.
And back out here live, the Patriot Jet team will perform a twilight show tonight, as well as shows tomorrow afternoon and Sunday afternoon as well. And as you saw right there, definitely worth the price of admission. Back to you guys.
Late today, filmmaker and social activist Michael Moore stopped by Occupy Portland to rally the troops. News Channel 8's Mike Benner was there and brings us his message tonight. Mike?
Hey, Joe. Michael Moore told us before leaving that Occupy Portland is one of the heartbeats of this Occupy Wall Street movement. He said it was awesome and incredible to visit Portland's demonstration. The famous filmmaker and social critic arrived at Shrunk Plaza at about 10 minutes to 5. He addressed hundreds of protesters for about 20 minutes. Today's rally comes just days after Michael Moore proclaimed himself one of the 1%, but standing behind the 99%.
This incredible movement has been organized by the greedy who ruined the lives of millions of Americans. They weren't satisfied. They weren't satisfied with just a little bit of greed. They had to have a lot of greed.
Now back out here live, before leaving, Michael Moore challenged the 400 richest people in this country to give back $1 million. He was also given an Occupy Portland hat and flag to remember his visit. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Nearly 100 cats and dogs were rescued from a dirty home in Damascus today, and tonight they're being cared for at the Oregon Humane Society. News Channel 8's Mike Benner is there with details for us live. Mike?
Yeah, Joe, we're told this is the culmination of a year-long investigation into alleged animal neglect, and news since 5 and 6 o'clock tonight. We went out to Damascus where we tried to talk to neighbors and the pet owner herself. Is anyone home? Although it was clear somebody was inside, nobody answered the door at this Damascus home, where Oregon Humane officers rescued nearly 100 animals from conditions that can only be described as filthy.
I don't think a normal person could stand but a few minutes in that house without a respirator. Lots of urine, lots of feces. We're just glad those animals aren't in that condition anymore.
In all, 95 kittens and cats and 2 dogs were taken from the house, as shown in this video given to us by authorities. and by late afternoon, the animals had arrived at the Oregon Humane Society in Northeast Portland.
We're seeing a lot of respiratory illness. We're seeing some fleas, lack of food, probably, malnutrition, just not enough food.
The two dogs in particular, one a poodle, the other a hound, were in rough shape. Just look at the hound as it tries to walk around the Humane Society.
These situations they're never easy. It's always sad. It's sad for the animals, sad for the people.
Counted and counted.
And that includes the Gurdon family. They live next door to the home where the pets were living. They say the stench was overwhelming.
Like, even before we got to the door, we could smell the smell, but it wasn't as strong. And then once we opened the door, it smelled so bad, we held our breath. It's really sad.
I just gave some Pyrantel
And penicillin.
Otamite.
But if there is a silver lining in any of this, it's that the felines and dogs are now in good hands, getting nursed back to health. Now back out here live, it's believed that about a dozen of the cats may still be roaming the Damascus property, so in the coming days authorities will head out there and try to catch them. In the meantime, none of the pets can be adopted until the court case is wrapped up or the pet owner relinquishes her ownership. Back to you.